Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Kolb. I'm the host of Credit Safe Webinars, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the webinar today. Before we get started, I want to cover a few things that will make your experience a little bit better here. First, this is a recorded webinar. So if you are not allowed by your company or just don't want to be on a recorded webinar, please take the time right now, go ahead and leave the webinar. With that being said, we are recording this webinar. So that means you will get a chance to have access to this recording, as well as any other links or important information that is involved in this. If we mention those or what have you, you don't have to write them down. We're going to cover that in a follow-up email that will be sent to you 24 to 48 hours after this at whatever email you use to register for this webinar. So we'll make sure that you get that in the next couple of days. And we just want to let you know that up front. The other thing we want to let you know is we want you to interact with us. We want this to be engaging and have a time of a discussion, not just us talking at you. We want to talk with you. So to do that, we have enabled the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little text bubble with Q&A above it. Go ahead, type in anything you want there, any comments you have, anything you'd like to add to the discussion, any questions you have, of course, and I will be monitoring that the entire time. So from now on, I will be monitoring that, and you can add your questions or comments right in there, and we will take care of those live on the air. So now that we've got all that done, let's introduce what's going on today. So what we've got going on is the third in our series of 9 webinars in partnership with the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors, or the NAW. So it's a partnership between Credit Safe and the NAW to provide this overall series for you. Cash is still king. And if you're unfamiliar with the companies, let me tell you a little bit about them. The National Association of Wholesaler Distributors, or the NAW, is the national voice of the wholesale distribution industry in Washington, D.C. NAW provides high value to its members and the wholesale distribution industry by advocating the interests of distribution companies before the government, providing groundbreaking distribution-specific research and strategic management best practices via conferences, publications, and webcasts, and providing leading-edge products and services highly valued by their peers. As the world's most used provider of business intelligence, Credit Safe owns and maintains one of the most comprehensive and rapidly expanding business databases with credit information on over 365 million companies worldwide. They're changing the way business information is used by offering a collection of products and solutions that help companies leverage their domestic and international credit reports, company data, principal information, domestic and international judgments, and credit scores to make smarter business decisions. Now, this series is focused on the changes that have been happening due to the pandemic, yet a consistent thread has been throughout, which is the idea that cash is still king in today's market. Each area that we focus on will have multiple webinars that feature experts, thought leaders, and practitioners to provide insights and analysis on how you can move forward in uncertain economic times and make smarter decisions. Today's webinar will discuss the importance of integration and automation. In today's business environment, it is crucial to utilize the available business information and to integrate it with existing systems and solutions within your company. To talk about this, we are very, very fortunate to have John Seary with us. John is the Chief Technology Officer for Credit Safe. He has an extensive background in IT engineering, technology strategy and architecture, and customer-facing solutions. He is responsible for data delivery via cloud-based API systems and for maintaining Credit Safe's global IT infrastructure. John has both a bachelor's and master's degrees. And the one thing that we wanted to know too is he has 3 kids at home who are seemingly refusing to move out of his house. For those of you that are our customers, if you have a product from us, this is the guy that's on the hook for it. So hopefully you have some great questions for him later. John, it's great to have you here, and I just want to say welcome and looking forward to this.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nathan. Thanks for the opportunity. I'd just like to pre-apologize for everybody. This will be my number first webinar, so apologies for the lack of professionalism. I do have some notes on my right-hand side here, okay? So if you see me glancing, you know, it'll actually be to my notes. I guess we can crack on.
I think you'll be okay. I mean, this is a mainly US audience, so just your accent sounds great to us. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what you're going to be talking about. I'm sure that people are going to enjoy it just from the accent point of view.
Yeah, it is nighttime here in Dublin, so yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, just to kind of jump into this and to give us a background, kind of set the stage for everything, John, tell me about how companies specifically integrate business data, because integration is a huge topic. So let's kind of focus there and start there.
So let me just start off, I suppose, with the the interaction with a business information supplier in general. Just get started there.
Sure.
Then we'll talk about the data in general, what you should do with it, and then we'll go on to several other topics through the webinar.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, the first thing you should always do, okay, is talk to your supplier. Okay, talk to the business information provider. Okay, to figure out what it is you want to do. Okay, all business information suppliers, okay, will provide a service to help you analyze your requirements. Okay. And to provide you advice on the information that you actually need. Okay, a lot of the problems that we see in integrations and with customers, okay, is that customers specify what they think they need. Okay, they write it down in an RFI, RFP, put it out for tender. Somebody wins the tender, and then once you actually get the data from the provider, okay, you realize that it's not really performing the function that you want, okay? It may not have the coverage, it may not have the accuracy, it may not be fresh enough, or it may not have the meaning that you think it does, okay? So just be clear with the data provider, okay, what the data means before you actually make a purchase, okay? Another thing to consider, I guess, is how often that you will want the data updated, okay? Be careful when you think about getting business information, okay? Because it is surprising how much the commercial universe actually changes, okay? You can look at change rates of anything from a couple of percentages up to 4 and 5% of the universe changing actually per day, okay? So it can become staler, okay, quicker than you might imagine, okay? Which for some use cases is actually going to mean that it's going to become effectively useless. When you also talk to a provider, I guess you want to talk about getting changes to the data that you're interested in over time, okay? And for there, you know, you want to consider whether you're interested in getting only the changes, okay, which is the case for some use cases for providers, okay? Such as the case where you'll want to take action based on a change or an event in the commercial universe. I think some other use cases, much more common use cases, will be I just want my database kept up to date. Okay, I want to run reports against it. I want to do prospecting lists against it. From your IT departments and the provider's point of view, they're two really, really different things. Yeah, you know, one, you're kind of, you know, getting changes every day or a couple of times a day to your universe, which means you're going to get sometimes streaming data, delta data. In the other situation, you're simply just getting a bunch of replacement data, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly sometimes. I guess that's something else to keep in mind, which is, you know, do you actually want the changes? How frequently? And then do you want them actually updated on that frequency, or do you just want the changes on that frequency? Now that I've covered sort of the basics of figuring out what it is you actually want, okay, let's move on to the main considerations, okay, with actually integrating yourself with a business supplier, okay. There's in general a three-pronged pattern, okay, to integrating with business information suppliers, okay. The first one is, the first time you'll interact with them, you'll want to get a seed of the data, okay. You'll want to get a full copy of all the business information for your entire universe, okay. Typically, that's delivered to you via file, okay. The next one is you'll want to keep that information up to date. Okay, so you want to talk to your business information provider about how you get it seeded. Sometimes when you're integrating, first of all, you will want to seed it. You'll want to seed it again. You'll want to seed it again because you'll be getting your systems working. You'll be integrating it. You'll be getting syntax issues. So just talk to your provider about what facilities they will give you for redos, refreshes, all of that sort of stuff, okay? Keeping the information up to date then, okay? Be really careful here, because typically when providers give you the data, which are changes to the universe, it may be a different format than the original seed, okay? So you may have two separate integrations, okay? Generally, the first integration is going to be, like the first seed is going to be a snapshot of the companies that you'll be interested in. And then they'll either give you replacements, which is likely to be the same format, or they'll give you changes, which is likely to be a different format. Because generally with changes, they'll give you the previous value, and then they'll give you the next value, okay? So just be careful that, you know, it's actually two parts to the integration. There are a couple of things, I suppose, to consider when integrating, and I'll cover the most common mechanisms. How you will integrate technically, okay? There are two main mechanisms, okay? The most typical mechanism and the most common mechanism for, you know, the majority of use cases is via files, okay? But we'll also talk about APIs a little bit later as well. You may know APIs as web services, interfaces, stuff like that. In some situations, there'll be some use cases which will require a combination of both. Typically, you'll get a seed with a file, and typically then you'll refresh your universe on demand or get changes via APIs, okay? In general, business information suppliers will allow you, you know, to do all of it using both mechanisms, but sometimes for the actual customer, it can simply be easier to go deal with files, especially for seeds in large volumes. Integrating via files is probably the simplest mechanism for most use cases. They're suitable when you're doing bulk operations, such as prospecting or marketing, sometimes mastering your data, which we'll talk about a little bit later, okay? The general pattern would be for you to have a conversation with your business information provider, talk to them about how often you want to receive the data, what data you actually want on a company, okay, and the companies that you want information on. The companies that you want information on can usually be specified as either an explicit list, okay, where you actually know the set of companies you want, you know, whether that's tens, thousands, in some cases, millions of companies, but you will know the company. You'll have its name and address, registration number, VAT number, national ID number, but it'll be an explicit list. Some use cases, you'll just simply want to provide a filter on the universe, okay, which is saying to the business provider, yo, what I'm really interested here is all of the manufacturing companies in the Northeast with sales that are greater than 200 million, okay? And in that situation, it will be up to the business information provider to look at their database, fulfill the actual criteria that you specified, and then give you back that file, okay? I guess I'll go on to page 2.
Gotta grab that.
Yeah, typical formats then when we're talking about files, okay? You know, it's very, very common to get it something comma separated, which is how you would do like an export from Excel or something like that, okay? The issue mostly with these types of formats is it's really, really difficult to represent hierarchical data, okay? It's really, really difficult to represent things such as financial statements, suits, liens, judgments, scores, reason for scores, historical data, prior scores, etc. Alternate and more data-friendly formats like XML or JSON are far better for representing data like this. Where was I? Sorry, okay. You likely need a database administrator when you're dealing with files, okay, and flat file formats, and dealing with files in general to upload into their database, okay. Handling of files and complexity gets larger when you're not simply overwriting the details you had before the new file, okay. So in some situations, you'll want to try to take what data you had, detect the changes in the data yourself rather than just overwriting them. That's where that use case gets a little bit more complex. Moving on to integrating using APIs, from a personnel point of view, you'll need access to some programming skills, okay, in order to be able to connect to the business data supplier systems directly. They will generally give you some credentials, keys, usernames, passwords when they set you up first. One thing to note here is the level of detail of the documentation of the APIs from the supplier. Make sure you look at the API itself as an offering and not just the data, okay? Integrating with APIs can be expensive. It can be made worse without good documentation to hand for the engineers. We chat about that later, but integrating with APIs is likely the best way to integrate business information from a supplier if you want to maximize the value that you're actually going to be able to get from the actual data that's supplied to you. I think that's about it for now on that one, Nathan.
Okay. I think you covered that one pretty well, and I kind of want to hit on what you just talked about there at the end of the idea of business data and the value there. So from a company's perspective, how should they be thinking about that business data, and where is that real value that you're talking about?
So this is it's an interesting topic. Okay, I mean, fundamentally, business information, accurate business information with good content, accurate content is always going to be valuable. Okay, so there are several use cases where that's absolutely fine. Okay, if you want to keep your data, if you want to keep your information up to date and do selections against your universe of clients, in addition to the business information provided by the supplier, for some business cases, then taking periodic snapshots or copies from the suppliers is absolutely suitable. Okay. In a lot of circumstances, though, this is just not enough. If your organization wants to understand what is going on in the commercial universe, okay, and take actions in response to what's happening now, okay, that just isn't good enough to take snapshots. Okay. You'll want to be able to see what's changing and what those changes are. Most good suppliers of business information will be able to provide you with this information. It will generally be branded as monitoring, sometimes change detection. If you want to know what's going on in the commercial universe, and you want to know what's actually happening, okay, so you can respond to it, okay? You can send targeted marketing to clients, for example, okay? If you're an equipment provider and one of your clients has moved address, or one of your prospects has moved address, or one of the information, one of the companies you're interested in has moved address, then you can, do some targeted marketing, make calls or whatever directly to them, okay? Generally, suppliers of business information will provide you with the information on what has changed. In a lot of cases, they will tell you why the changes happened. In more advanced suppliers, they will know your context and they will suggest, how you might act, okay? For example, if there's an address change and the supplier knows your context, then for example, an address change can be more than just an update provided to you. They can tell you what type of address change it is. It could be just a correction. Okay, which is fine. It's just, somebody made a mistake or a company updated. There's no substantive change to the actual company. It could be that the business has just moved down the street. It could be that the client has moved state or even country. The client could have moved to a larger, smaller premises. If the supplier has your information and knows what business you're in, then these events can be turned into directions or actions. Yeah. Not to just update your database, but maybe to email, your collections department, update your sales territories, alert your marketing departments. Okay. When you're interacting with a business information supplier, you're interested in monitoring your clients and prospective clients. You generally have two choices. You can specify an explicit list, as I said before. Okay. Or you can specify a filter. Okay. I guess netting out all of this is the difference you see between the value proposition of static data, just getting the data from a supplier, taking a snapshot, updating your database, every week, every month, every day, perhaps, okay, versus and looking at that data and acting on it every week, every month, etc. The difference here is the commercial universe changes, okay. And it's a bit of a first mover advantage for a supplier to be able to tell you what's happening now, okay? Being able to act on what's happening now. So this is the difference between just keeping your data up to date and accurate versus, buying business information, okay, where you can look at the changes, act on the changes, act on individual events, okay? Provide the supplier with your context, what you do, what type of business you're in, what are you interested in, okay? And allow the supplier then to take the changes in the commercial universe and blend that with your business and allow them to tell you, what you should do about the changes in the universe, whether you should just simply ignore it and up your database, just update your database, or just, take some marketing actions on it, update collections, etc. From my point of view, though, the real value in business data, okay, on one hand, it's the data, On the other hand, in my mind, yeah, it's an observation on activity in the commercial universe. Yeah, that's where the fundamental value is.
Okay. So you were talking about the suppliers and how they're constantly changing, and how, you know, your business universe is constantly changing. How do businesses get those suppliers or those customers or what have you to give them the business information that they want and need?
Okay, so this is a fascinating area, okay, and becomes a big problem to solve when you're not just looking for lists of information about a segment of the commercial universe or just a simple listing, okay. Usually when it is not the simple case, okay, then you'll be looking for information on businesses that you are currently doing business with, okay, your client lists, your supplier lists, or your customer lists, okay. Most business information suppliers will refer to the process of finding business information about your existing companies, okay, as matching, okay. The basic premise here is for the supplier of business information to figure out the correct company that you're referring to and matching that to a business entity in their own universe, okay? Matching by definition requires that no human be involved, okay? So let's get on to integration, no humans, automation here, okay? So the assumption here is that what you're asking the business information supplier, okay, is given this name of a company, given this address of a company, maybe given this phone number of a company, okay, tell me what company I'm actually talking about, okay? So the other reason why it doesn't really involve humans, okay, so the expectation here is that matching, you know, you give it a name and address and some more details and it'll give you one singular answer back, okay, is also due to volumes, okay? So if you're looking at universes in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and into millions, okay, you'll likely give them the name and address of the company, the phone details, some other details. The job is harder than you imagine, okay, due to, you know, humans, yeah. You know, it's an unfortunate side effect of running a company that there are humans there, okay. And you know, there are so many opportunities to make mistakes, errors, not keeping client information up to date, okay, that, you know, it's so common, okay, to have a different view of the company, okay, than the official name of a company, the official address of a company, the official ownership of a company that the business information supplier might have, okay. You might have misspellings, shortened names. I mean, the fairly common one is IBM versus International Business Machines. It's really common to have mishears on the phone. Okay, so, you know, taking down names and addresses of companies and you write them down and you're talking about, you know, accents, you're talking about, you know, language differences, shortened names, all of that sort of stuff. Simple transcription errors are also quite common. But generally what matching is trying to do in general, okay, is to take the data that you have about your clients, okay, and map that to an official company, okay. Once it's mapped to an official company, it's really easy. Go get whatever business information you want, okay. But generally, holistically, okay, what you want to be able to do is, when you're talking to a business information supplier, okay, first of all, you've got to be able to find the right company you're talking about, okay, and then you want to ask for the information, okay. That entire area, as I just referred to, is matching. Matching is similar to searching, but we can talk about the difference between those two a little bit later, okay? Typically, matching technologies will offer you a probability, okay, that they got the right company when they went looking in their database, okay? Probabilities, because I'm in like computer science and stuff like that, are in between 0 and 1. Typically, it'd be given to you as a percentage in between 0 and 100%, okay? So if you have a probability close to 1, it's obviously the best and should be taken as simply being the correct company. And you should feel confident to use the information given to you by that company, given by the business information supplier about that company. In many cases, though, it will be a lower probability, okay? The question for you then is, what do you do about those matches, okay? Do you accept them or do you reject them, okay? The context of your business need here is important, okay? If you're using the information to extend credit to a customer, you should probably bias on the conservative side, okay? If it's a compliance case, you should probably bias on the conservative side. For a sales and marketing use case, you know, the actual risk to your business of getting the wrong company is probably substantially lower, and you can get much higher match rates then, okay, by just lowering what you accept, okay, from the matching system, okay? So it's all about business context, okay?
Makes sense. And when we're talking about this idea of matching, John, you're talking about the percentages and everything there. Kind of a two-part question here. How do companies get a better match percentage? And then also, is that something they have to do on their own, or is there help for them in that area?
You've tricked me, Nathan, by taking two questions and putting them into one here.
Well,
Okay.
you know, sometimes it's the host's prerogative to kind of put things together here.
Okay. Look, most good business information suppliers will not only return you the probability, okay, that they are right when they're matching a company, okay, but they'll often tell you, yeah, how they calculated that probability. They will tell you whether they fully or partially match the company name, a registration ID, a VAT number, street address, town, state, even country, okay? You can look at those reasons and decide for yourself whether you can accept the match based on the information. For example, if CreditSafe tells you that it got a 0.85, okay, so 85% probability that they were correct, we were correct, sorry, that we have the right company, and that's too low for you to accept with confidence. But CreditSafe in that situation will also tell you that the address and the registration number are a perfect match, okay? But the company name was incorrect. Do you accept this match? In most situations, depending on your business, it will be the right company, and you will possibly need to update the name of your company in your own database, okay? This is a small bit about mastering data that you might want to do, that we might talk about a little bit later, okay? More advanced features of matching products then will allow you to understand more about why your information didn't match something in the supplier's database, okay? The suppliers in general, including CreditSafe, they should be able to tell you, well, first of all, the obvious one, okay? If you match a company, how confident they are that it's the right company, okay? Sometimes they will look at your data and tell you it's just simply not good enough, okay? So some of the issues here are on, you know, the supplier side, some are on the customer side, okay? But most suppliers will tell you when they think that it's your data that's actually bad, okay? Sometimes they will tell you that your data seems to be mixed up, okay? You might have passed some parameters in the wrong order. You might seem to have towns in the state field or states, state in the address fields, okay? It's not uncommon for your database fields when people are filling it out in your customer onboarding or supplier onboarding systems to put them into different fields. So they end up going into databases. You then do a database extract, send it to a business information supplier to go get matched. And the business information supplier will go, I can't really match these. In fact, we actually think that you probably got, you know, a couple of fields mixed up and stuff like that. Okay, so you should expect this sort of service from an information supplier. Sometimes we might have some information on the company, okay, but not enough to have a full report on the company, not to have a good rounded view of the company. But sometimes it can really be okay to even find out that a company exists. Yeah, we have some information about the company, okay? Depending on your use case, okay, that might be good enough. You might be happy that somebody else has done business with them. You might be happy that there's some legal event that you know, confirms their existence in the world, something like that. It really depends on your use case, okay? They should also be able to tell you that your data is not allowing them to tell the difference between two or more really, really good matches, okay? Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes you can get street addresses in Manhattan for Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And it's really, really good matches, but they're so close together in name, address, and stuff like that that, you know, the actual business information supplier, when they're matching, it goes like, I got two really good matches here. I don't know which is best. Yeah.
Right.
But what they should tell you is that they've got two really good matches. Yeah. See if you can have a look at your the information you've given, the business name, the address, phone numbers, anything else like that. See if you can get more information from your client to see if we can get an exact match. Oh, part two. Okay. Oh,
Yes, can I get
matching
help
my
doing all
universe?
this?
Yeah, sorry. Absolutely. Okay. As you talk to various business information suppliers, okay, you should expect a lot of training and support, okay, to get your customer and supplier lists matched to the business information suppliers database, okay? All of the stuff that I've just talked about, you should expect the business information supplier to help you to do this, yeah? This is not something that you will do often. It is something that we do often, okay? Expect that service from us, yeah? And expect that service from other business information suppliers, okay? It is, after all, in their interest to maximize the amount of data that they sell you, maximize the value that you get from it in order to be able to get your business and keep your business. There are some situations, which is not uncommon, where you might need a little bit more help in organizing your client databases and supplier database. If you hear things like, how many versions of this company can I have? Okay, my invoices are not getting received. How am I only finding out that the supplier is also a customer? That's a really, really common one, okay, yeah. Somebody's gonna rock up with a balance of trade argument with you and stuff like that. I guess, how much are we selling to a company, okay? If you hear things like that, yeah, you know you've got a really, really good opportunity to make heavy use of matching technologies, okay, in order to be able to identify duplicates in your database, okay, enrich the information you have about a company, correct the information you have about a company, okay. In general, you'll hear companies like ours refer to this as batch, cleanse, match, and append, okay, is generally the process for this. So generally you'll send us a file, okay, we'll cleanse it, so do address corrections, address normalizations. What we do then is execute a match against it, and then what we will do, depending on what you want, okay, we'll append the data and give it back to you, okay, to update your databases, okay. That's a general, very simplistic use case, a very, very common use case that the customers of ours would have.
Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump ahead here just a couple of questions from our interview questions here, John, so that we leave time for our audience to ask some questions. And guys, anytime, just kind of throw those questions in there. But you know, John, we've only touched on and just a little bit of allusion to the idea of, or the area of automation. Why? I mean, it's in the title, so why have we kind of avoided that a little bit?
So automation means different things to different people, okay? I guess you're automating business processes, okay, through the use. So you can automate through the use of computerization, okay? That's straightforward, a digitization of business processes and things that people do, okay? Rather than, you know, looking up on a user interface, like in one of our products, copying the data down, you take it via API and it automatically updates your database, okay? I guess the next one is, for example, a lot of people think about automation as, you know, robots, robotics, you know, workflow automation, etc. I think one interesting thing there is when you think about robots, okay, it's kind of interesting because in my opinion, okay, you really have to treat your robots as employees, okay? Because what you have to do is to curate what they do, okay? Because robots will not evolve like humans do, okay? So that's just one little thing to note there, okay? Treat them like they should be managed as simply executing a process, because, you know, robots in general, when you take a business process, automate it, it will do the same thing forever, okay? So it doesn't have the adaptability, etc., that humans might have. I guess the final thing then is, you know, with respect to business information and automation there, I suppose there's a couple of use cases, okay? If you look at cash management, liquidity management, extending credit, etc., Credit Safe have a bunch of products in this area, okay? Typically, you will upload your portfolio, such as your accounts receivables, okay, into our systems. We'll run algorithms over it to look at your total exposure. You'll be able to configure it, etc. But one thing you might choose to automate there, because that type of tool is typically there for credit managers, okay? So what you might want to do there is to take that functionality and expose it either via user interface or via an API. So effectively, if you've got a salesperson, okay, they can do automated credit decisioning, okay? So they can get automated credit approvals. They can just say, this company, okay, can you go have a quick search for this in CreditSafe's database, get quick scores on it, and then give me automated decisioning, okay? I guess the other aspect of automation you can think about, the other common use case, I suppose, is integration with CRM systems, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So generally people have their client lists in CRM systems. They can be huge, okay? So what you can do is using adapters from CreditSafe and other business information suppliers, okay, you can have your information there automatically enriched, automatically updated, automatically, refreshed on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, okay? So that's one really good example where you're actually using an adapter to talk to our APIs and our file interchange systems to keep your CRM systems up to date. Takes out a bunch of mistakes, puts up-to-date information there as you're doing your sales and marketing activities, etc. But in general, what I would suggest, when it comes to automation, integration with business information is get the right business information, okay? Create your workflows correctly, get it all working, okay? Get it working, make it better, okay? So get it all working, make it better, optimize it, automate it if you want to, okay? The key here is to get the right information, get your processes correct, then automate your processes.
Okay, and I mean, I'll give you one kind of final word here before we go to some questions and everything on, the final tips, final thoughts on this whole idea that maybe just extend what you were just saying.
Final tips, really, really quickly, okay? 3 phrases to data curation, okay? Try to stop mistakes from happening, okay? Use tools like Type Ahead or searches, okay? So the APIs in our products, provide both, okay? So stop people entering bad information, okay? Use those tools, okay? They're absolutely magnificent. Stop any bad data going into your company, okay? Stop people ever putting a non-company into your database, yeah? Front load your mistakes, yeah? So, when you're actually trying to enter the company, okay, typing in the details you've heard on the phone, okay, and you're not able to find the company, talk to your client there, yeah? Get it corrected on the ingress side, okay? The second one is the situation where you want to cleanse your database, okay? Sanitize your database, make it right, okay? And finally, yeah, monitoring change detection, keep it up to date, yeah? Stop mistakes from happening, correct the mistakes that have already been made, okay? And then keep it all up to date. 3 phases to data curation. That's the core for straightforward master data use case.
That's great.
We didn't actually get to talk about it, but hey.
No, that's great. And a couple of questions here. And folks, you can keep asking questions as we go here. But I have an issue in my company where I think there are multiple versions of the same company. How can this be resolved? So, multiple versions of what they think is multiple versions of the same company. Is there a way to resolve this, or is this an issue?
Yeah, I know. I've talked a lot about matching earlier on, okay? But generally, these issues happen simply because most companies have multiple systems, okay? Multiple geographies, multiple sales information like telesales, field sales, that sort of thing, where they may have many, many different touch points with the same company. They enter slightly different information about the company. Holistically, though, it is the same company that the customer is actually talking about. The solution there fundamentally, I'll refer back and say, hopefully we will be able to stop those mistakes from happening in the first place, okay?
Right.
Type ahead and searching, okay? But, that's the horses galloping at the meadow at the moment with that one. But generally use matching, okay? So take all of your stuff, okay? What will happen is you'll provide CreditSafe for another supplier with your full list, okay? And what they'll do is to give you back identifiers, okay, of the companies that they feel that these names and addresses, etc., that you provided actually are, okay? So given the identifiers that you'll get back, okay, you should be able to identify what are the duplicates, okay?
Right.
The other service that's provided in general would be like a cleansing or a data evaluation, where effectively we would do that on your behalf. So look at your data, figure out what your duplicates are. So rather than having to do this yourself, we can at least give you some insight into how many duplicates you might have, or how many we think you have. But in general, the base technology is always going to be matching, maybe with a bit of searching, maybe some human activities as well. But generally it's matching. Generally, just give us all your data. We can't deduplicate it for you, okay? But we can tell you which of your client IDs are effectively duplicates.
Okay, great. And then this one is kind of a two-part question. How do I figure out what companies are related to what other companies? And then how do I figure out if there's any opportunities that this might offer me?
So we want to talk about ownership hierarchies here in general. I think you'll hear it referred to as company linkages, global hierarchies, but what it basically is representative of is the ownership hierarchy of a set of companies, okay? So typically, CreditSafe, other providers will be able to tell you, who the domestic ultimate is, okay? So within a country, who's the ultimate owner, okay? They'll be able to tell you in general who the global ultimate is, okay? So globally, what's the owner of the company, okay? And they'll also be able to tell you who the direct parent is, okay? So with those pieces of information, okay, I mean, there's some use cases where you'll kind of want to group a bunch of companies under the umbrella of the domestic ultimate, okay? Some situations you want the global ultimate, but it's typically the domestic ultimate, okay? So there you'll try to put all of your information, all the business that you're doing with what's effectively the same company, all under that single reference. In that situation, you'll be able to tell, all of the companies that are related to each other who have common parentage, either grandparents or whatever in the actual hierarchy of ownership. What you should also be able to receive is a straightforward tree view. Okay, so pick any company. What we'll effectively do is walk it to the domestic ultimate and then give you the family tree type functionality. Or you can simply derive it yourself from the straightforward one-up parenting. Or you can walk it down really from the domestic ultimate. Sorry, I will correct myself. We do not have downs, okay? In our data, we'll only point up, okay? So what we'll do is to walk it up and remember everything and walk back down again, okay? Sorry. I guess that situation is opportunities of how come I'm doing business on the West Coast with, child A, okay? And I'm not doing business on the East Coast with child A or child B. Okay, so that's obviously what's really working for this part of the company. Could be working for another version of the company that's regionally distributed, something like that. Yeah, I mean, lookalikes are also interesting. Yeah, so if this type of company, I'm selling this much to them, this is a very, very similar type of company, which we can also do. We can also tell you lookalikes. Okay? So we give you your lists of companies that look like companies that you're already doing business with. Okay.
Right.
And you can ask yourself then, largely, why am I not selling to this company? Yeah, it seems to be the same business, same size, same wants and needs. Okay, it's just another opportunity. I'm getting into a little bit of sales and marketing now, Nathan, and a bit out of technology. I do apologize. I mean, I'm just
that's a different one.
Types of use cases that I've seen from customers.
Right. No, that's great. No, and I think that fully answers that question in a great way of not just what companies are linked to each other, but also what companies are similar. Which is a different type of linkage. It's not a direct, hierarchical linkage, but you're right. It's similar. Similar companies are linked, and that's a great way to use those opportunities as well. So I appreciate you talking about that, John. All right, John. Yeah, I think that does it. Thank you so much for not only for the information, but also for answering these questions. We're running up on time here, so I think we're gonna end there after that good question. Folks, thank you so much for being here with us. I want to let you know that our next webinar is a continuation of this series, the Cash is Still King series, that will be happening on Thursday, October 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, where I'll be talking to Michael Kohler, the Chief Solution Architect from Sarala, all about a practitioner's perspective on automation and integration. Michael's an expert in the space and has been a practitioner of this for a very long time, and I'm really excited to have him on and get to talk to him. So again, that will be October 8th. That is Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. It's been great. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.